Just a few months ago, I reviewed the Mazda CX-90 plug-in hybrid. This is pretty much the same vehicle. However, it doesn't have that inline 4. This has an inline 6 turbo. This is a CX-70, a two-row version of the Mazda CX-90, the two large platform Mazdas that we get here in the United States. In other markets, they have the CX-60 and the CX-80, which are a little bit narrower, but still have the same powertrains like the inline 6 as well as the plug-in hybrid. Now, other markets also get turbo diesels. Unfortunately, we don't get any turbo diesels here on the CX-70 or the CX-90 stateside, but today we're going to review it. There's also some updates that I wanted to talk about for the 2026 model year that this vehicle, of course, will have. And stay to the end because we're going to look for deals on the Mazda CX-70. Should you just buy a CX-90 instead? And also at the end, we'll throw this on the spreadsheet and rank it to see how good it is versus every single vehicle I reviewed so far in 2025. We're almost at the end of the year, so it's exciting to get the Mazda CX-70 into the spreadsheet. So let's get into it. All CX-70s and CX-90s are built in Japan. Large engine cover here. Like there's not a lot. I mean, maybe I can unclick this and lift it up. There you go. There you go. You can see the inline 6 now with the turbo in there. This thing produces 340 horsepower and 369 pound-feet of torque when you put premium in it. However, you can get the entry-level models, which has the same engine. It's been slightly detuned. I haven't been able to test it, but those get 280 horsepower and 339 pound-feet or somewhere around there. So the torque is still impressive on the base engines, but you get an extra 60 horsepower and around 30 pound-feet of torque or so more than the entry-level models. All right. Now, this inline 6 is just one of two powertrains, you could say, in the United States. The other one being the plug-in hybrid. If you want to see what the plug-in hybrid is like to drive, I reviewed it against an Infiniti QX60 earlier this year, and it beat the QX60. Now, I firmly believe that the inline 6 would also be a QX60, but this is not a video to trash on that Infiniti model. Now, on paper, this has the same torque as a plug-in hybrid, but there are big differences when you start driving between the two. For better or for worse, to be honest. I like the two hood struts here, the little pad, very nice engine compartment. Let's go ahead and close this beautiful hood, and done to perfection. The front end of the CX-70 looks almost identical to the CX-90, and that makes sense because they're pretty much the same vehicle. However, I think the CX-70 looks better. Now, this Premium Plus model has a paint matched bottom portion here, where on the base models it'll just be like more of a matte finish. Also, compared to the CX-90, this has a more sporty plastic area here. I think it looks better than the CX-90. That's just my personal opinion. These little patch right here of sportiness does make the front end look a lot better for the Mazda CX-70 over the 90. Now, this is the Soul Red Crystal that we see on a lot of other Mazda models. It's absolutely gorgeous. One of the updates, even on the base trim now, is it'll finally say inline 6 on the side. And previous years, they just kind of gave you this empty garnish here, and it didn't look very premium. Now that is available on the base. I think it's called preferred trim. All right, we also have 21-inch wheels here, which I believe 21-inch wheels are standard, just a different design on the lesser trims. Now, the entry-level trim, which I think is probably the best buy, but stay to the end. But the entry-level trim will not have this real nice paint-matched wheel arch or this paint-matched bottom portion here with this dark chrome Mazda strip at the bottom. But the CX-90 and the CX-70 look great from the side, and you can really tell the long hood line here for the longitudinally mounted engines. One of the other differences here with the 26 models, we kind of have these dark chrome badges on the back. e-Skyactiv-G here to let you know this has the mild hybrid. I did not mention that when I was underneath the hood. This is technically a hybrid. You have an electric motor that does power or help power the 8-speed automatic instead of a torque converter. All right, and it does have around 1 kilowatt-hour battery. This can tow about 5,000 pounds and gets you about 25 miles per gallon. But the badges here are really the nicer update here. And this all-wheel drive badge reminds us that all CX-70s and 90s are all-wheel drive. In fact, every Mazda crossover in the United States is all-wheel drive. On the bottom trims, Mazda takes out this gorgeous side lamp, or you could say rear tail lamp here on the side. They take it out, and I noticed that on the CX-90, So that is one of the biggest draws for me to upgrade, is to just go ahead and get the upper trims to have better looking taillights. Now, since this does not have a third row of seats, this is going to have a ton of cargo capacity here in the rear. I can fold down the second row from here, which is quite nice, but I won't be able to fold them up, for example. But just immense amount of storage in the back. I do have a spare tire underneath, and in fact, I have lots of underfloor storage in the back too. There's the evidence of your spare tire with the Bose subwoofer there, and it's kind of tilted down, which is nice because then you can get this additional cargo space there too. You have 150 watts of AC power, which is quite nice, and then you also have a 12-volt adapter. And even in the back seat, you do kind of have these areas for cup holders because it is a decontented three-row CX-90, for example. All right, let's go ahead and close it down. I like the little light here to help you guys load your stuff in at night. All right, into the back seat, you can see I've been taking the kids around 3 across, no problem. I also have sunshades on this top model. The suede, the two-tone suede, the caramel interior that we have here is exclusive to this Premium Plus, as well as the door sills, but that probably could be an option on lesser trims too. All right, but the doors open like 90 degrees, which is really excellent for getting kids in the car. So let's go ahead and move this booster seat over. Let's talk about these seats. Pretty darn comfortable, soft seats. These are Napa leather, for example, here on this Premium Plus. 2 USB-Cs. I have vents down here at the bottom. I do not have vents up here at the top. And I do have heated outboard seats here, but I believe heated outboard seats, I think, is standard even on the base CX-70 nowadays. All right, I think that's an upgrade for 2026 model year, but I do have climate control back here for tri-zone climate control, which is quite nice. I got the panel roof on this model, lots of headroom, just a really cozy and beautiful back seat, and we'll find that beauty in the front seat too. Sounds pretty good. Not super luxury though. It doesn't feel that heavy, but it sounds okay. Geez, Mazda. This interior is perfect, really, other than a few minor gripes. And I'll get into why it's perfect as well, but let's start with the gripes. This vent, I've nailed my knee on it, and other CX-90s, I don't know if you can really see it. It juts out into nowhere land, all right, when you have the door open. It didn't need to be designed this far out with this piece, okay? So aesthetically, when you close the door, it looks nice and it flows into the door, but yeah, it's gonna like pierce your knee one of these times. Now the vent placement in here is fantastic. I was in a Palisade last week, the new Palisade, and the vent is completely hidden behind this area. You can't see my hand on camera, but that's where the vent is, and as a result, it doesn't hit my face. Well, here in the Mazda, it's way out to the side. They push the vent super far out to the side so the vents can properly get around the steering wheel and cool your face. Materials, my goodness, fantastic. This doesn't have the amazing drop stitch that you have on the CX-90 in certain trim levels. I think it's on the top trim level. I don't believe that's available here on the CX-70, but the suede is nice. The Napa leather seats are fantastic. Really, really cozy, really comfortable. I do have a head-up display as well, which I really, really enjoy. And it is in that Mazda font. So I love having that, you know, character built even into the head-up display. Down here is a 12-inch screen, but on the base trim, it's the same screen that you have on like the CX-5, or should I say the current CX-5, and not the new one coming out, where it has a 7-inch screen that looks like a radial dial, just like this. All right, but the other 2 dials are analog, like the tachometer is analog, I believe, as well as the fuel gauge. So I love that base screen, and I wouldn't upgrade to this model just to have the fully digital screen, for example. All right, before idling this, I was getting about 25 miles per gallon. I bring that up because you have a little fuel meter here, which I really appreciate. The 12-inch screen here, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto works, no problem. I also have the rotary dial here to interact with it. And thankfully, unlike the new CX-5, I have all these beautiful buttons here to interact with and have that peace of mind to play with the climate control. It is great, perfect. Now, are sometimes rotary dials better for climate control? Yes, they are, but I'm not going to really complain about this setup because where Mazda's going with the CX-5 is baking it all into the touchscreen, which is like this big now. And yeah, new CX-5. I got to drive it to accurately talk about its screen, but I've already made a couple videos on the new screen on the CX-5. Thankfully, this does not have it. You know, God, thank Mazda. They figured out not to be cheap in key areas, all right? And that's talking about armrests. I've been in so many cars lately that have cardboard for armrests, and your elbows just are uncomfortable all the time. Mazda, even the center armrest here, and that's something the Palisade had all like too many lines and creaks in there, or creases, and it just wasn't comfortable. All right, but here, even the door panel's armrest is just a pillow. Thank you, Mazda, for keeping soft armrests. Thank you for keeping real buttons also in the steering wheel. Check out my volume knob is right here, or should I say my volume buttons. The toggle switches is really nice, okay? And I can just hold it and it goes up and down. Yes, I still have my volume knob, something the new CX-5 does not have. Cup holders are a little small if I didn't mention that. Wireless charger, kind of in a nice spot way back here. Now, this area, I wish I had more customization here with space. It's just since it's rear wheel drive, there's no tunnel under here. Or there is a tunnel, but that's for the transmission, right? But, you know, I even have softness right here on each side of the console, so I can lay my knee into it and be in comfort. So this is one of the most comfortable cars. I think I would put it up there with Lexus comfort. But the materials are better than a modern day RX, for example, but better than an NX. It's just incredible. I even have a sunglasses holder. That's something a lot of manufacturers are cheaping out on nowadays. 360 camera here. You can see the top down, pretty nice. And it is annoying. This is not the plug-in hybrid, but the backup noise is the same as the plug-in hybrid. You know, the engine can turn off in here, and apparently it can turn off when you're in reverse. I haven't seen it with the iStop, and we'll talk more about iStop here in a little bit, but they bake in that annoying reverse sound that the plug-in hybrid has. So when this vehicle arrived, I heard it backing up. I'm like, oh, I get the plug-in hybrid CX-70, that's fine. I like that variant too. But no, it's inline 6, which with the annoying backup noise. So it is what it is. Heated and ventilated seats are now standard on the CX-70, which is pretty fantastic. I don't know about heated steering wheel. I'll have to look that one up. I also have memory seats over here on this side. I also have a button for iStop or traction control, parking sensors, all that good stuff. The Bose sound system in here is pretty fantastic too. Inside here, felt line, but really shallow. Again, and there's 2 USB-Cs in there and a light, so it's like, you know, it's well thought out. It's just really, really short. You know, they had to channel air conditioning through here to get to the rear vents. I get that. But there's just not a lot of cargo space in here for the front occupants. You have endless cargo space in the third row, but you can't access it, or should I say third row, where the third row is supposed to be, but you can't access it here. All right, you don't have accessible cargo space up here other than your door pockets, which is pretty minimal, and a glove box, which is felt lined. Again, luxury. And luxury here, and I already showed it on the screen, it's almost $60,000, but yeah, it's worth $60,000. However, you can get the pretty much 99% of this, I would say 95% of the same experience, and spend about 15 grand less on an entry-level CX-70. All right, but man, these seats are beautiful. One of the things you notice right away as I start moving the steering wheel is how amazing it feels. It's not hydraulic steering, but they've done a great job kind of mimicking a hydraulic steering feel. It's smooth and it has a nice heft to it. I don't know what that is. Oh, the kid's bunk bed was just delivered. That's what that big box is. Remember the Toy Story present? That's the bunk bed. And we're gonna try to put it in here. Let's see how well this button works. Well enough, I think. I think we can slide it under the tonneau cover. Oh, there's a booster seat. Hold on. Yeah. There we go. There we go. Oh, can we close it, guys? That is awfully long. That's what she said. Let's close that. Are we going to be able to successfully close this down? That's why you get this thing. Oh geez, I don't know if you guys saw that hawk just fly in front of us, but the engine here is not quiet, and I think it's not so much the engine as it is this electrified automatic transmission. And I do remember hearing a good amount of engine whine in the plug-in hybrid variant of this as well. And what, I don't mean engine whine, I mean electric motor whine, because the electric motor is always working even on this non-plug-in hybrid. The transmission is exactly the same. All right, but it does behave quite a bit different. And we'll talk about that once we get to the main road and start accelerating. Ride quality here, it's on the sportier end. I wouldn't put it in like Lexus quality, but it's close. It's not quite as smooth and floaty as the Palisade that I just rode recently, but it feels a lot better than and tighter feeling than a Grand Highlander, for example. All right, I bring those vehicles up, even though those are 3-row vehicles. This is the size of a 3-row vehicle, and it's the same thing as the CX-90, which has 3 rows. All right, I don't need to say that anymore. It's really quiet in here. Let's get into the brakes. The brakes are okay. I would like to have a little bit more feel to them, to be honest, but let's go ahead and start accelerating behind this Titan. Front cross traffic alert is annoying. Yep, it's quick. I mean, I'll do a 0 to 60 here, but I forgot that, I haven't been pushing the engine to its maximum this week, but I forgot that once you get up in the rev range, over 5,000 RPM, you get some strange like shuddering in the vehicle, and it's not, I would not call it luxurious. I-stop is on. We're gonna torque brake. Did not launch hard. I might have to disable. Man, that engine's loud, but it sounds good. There's 60, 0 to 60 in 6.5 seconds. Not that quick, but you got to keep in mind this vehicle is huge. The engine sounds good, and it doesn't really feel that much like an inline 6 when you're driving it. Meaning it doesn't give a super smooth character. It's more of like I'm not going to call it a diesel, but Mazda's inline 4 Skyactiv engine acts like a diesel too. All right, so this inline 6 kind of has some grunt to it. It has character. Most inline 6s from, Ram or BMW, for example, those inline 6s don't have much character. Even Mercedes inline 6s, they're so smooth that you can't really feel what the engine's doing. And as it climbs in rev range on those models too, the power output's about the same, all right, because there's so much torque and power. We're going to beat this truck here because this vehicle, that's why you get a Mazda. You don't get it for luxury, even though it has luxury. Well, you don't get it for the looks, even though it looks pretty cool. The main reason you get a Mazda is that reason right there. When you throw it in the turn, everything just feels the way it should. The steering's precise and has a nice heft to it. There's minimal body roll. With the inline engine here, the weight transfer with the engine doesn't have that noticeable effect either compared to a horizontally mounted engine. It just feels good, and then you get into the throttle as you power out of a turn, and it just puts down that power as you expect it to. Now, the big difference between this model and the plug-in hybrid is that this model feels a lot lighter when you throw it in the turn. It's much more enjoyable to drive on a day-to-day basis. Now, you're going to be getting about 25 miles per gallon, where that plug-in hybrid gets 30 miles a gallon, which is really impressive for such a big vehicle. But that's when you run out of electric range on the plug-in hybrid. The plug-in hybrid also gives you similar torque and acceleration to this. It's honestly about the exact same on paper between the two, but it just doesn't handle as well. However, you get, that really excellent 30 miles. It's not that amazing, but it goes a long ways to get that extra 30 miles of electric range on the plug-in hybrid. So what do you prefer? If you prefer a more fun driving experience, get the Inline 6. If you prefer to have a good driving experience with really, really impressive fuel economy, you get the plug-in hybrid. And it's amazing that I can never really pick between the two. It might come down to the deal you can get, and the Inline 6 is cheaper than the plug-in hybrid. You know, if that plug-in hybrid had an extra 50 horsepower of electrified assistance, so it's a little bit more punchy when you're driving an electric, I think I'd go for it. All right, and if it had maybe 40 miles of electric range. Now, something that the plug-in hybrid does a lot better is its hybrid, driving characteristics. This has i-Stop technology, and this is Mazda's plug-in hybrid, 48 volt mild hybrid system. And the engine will just die sometimes when you're coasting, and you don't really notice it because the Inline 6 inherently is a smooth engine at idle. It's a smooth engine when it turns on and turns off because it's very well balanced in the engine bay there. Okay, so the problem is that when you do come to a rolling stop, the engine will die. And one of the things that makes the Inline 6 so good, well, when the engine is on, is that it gives you that really satisfying power on demand. It's right there, almost like an electric car. But because of the i-Stop, it kind of stutters at times. So when I'm in the car, because I love how a car is supposed to behave, an engine is supposed to behave, I turn off i-Stop, and I have to press it twice. That's the second or third time that's happened, and I feel the button click. It's like Mazda doesn't want me to enable i-Stop here, or disable it, I should say. I don't like the i-Stop technology. Is it better? Has it gotten better over the couple of years that this vehicle's been out? Have they improved it through software updates? Not that I can tell. It is still awkward, and it fumbles, or it feels like it drops the baton and handing off the electric side of things to the gasoline side of things. Oh, that's a beautiful LX right there, LX 450, or is what Biggie would say, LX 4.5. So I love the Inline 6 here. I just have to disable i-Stop, and then it handles, and then it performs exactly how you would expect an Inline 6 to. All right, power all the time, pedal down. Yeah, this is good. It just feels right. When something feels right, it's hard to explain. When the engine, the transmission, the car all working in harmony, no hiccups, no awkwardness, no weird rumbles or a lack of power or gosh, some really terrible programming through transmissions. I can absolutely just take this at speed here. Oh yeah. Yes, it's so good. Inline 6s are great. It's just, I wish I had the option to turn down this engine noise in here. I don't know if it's pumped in, but the engine is loud, okay? And I should, it feels like it's in sport mode all the time with how loud the engine is. It is what it is, but it just feels right. And I want to get back to what I was saying earlier. So many manufacturers absolutely destroy the driving experience, not because the engine isn't capable or the transmission isn't capable, but they program it to save fuel for fuel economy reasons and to meet fuel economy standards and emission standards. So many cars just feel neutered, even though on paper they have good specs. This car, well, you just have to turn off the i-Stop, and then it's a perfectly executed driving. It's so much fun to drive. All right, and when you don't want to drive it hard, that's okay because it's still very quiet. Okay, the engine, unless it's being pushed, is very quiet. You got acoustic glass in here. It's a very, very quiet car, and I can hear that electric motor winding down as it downshifts through the gears. It feels heavy in the turns, but it feels planted. Oh, love the CX-70 and the CX-90. Such good vehicles. But let's get into the office. Let's go ahead and see what kind of deals we can find on the CX-70 and CX-90. They're the same car. And then also put it on the spreadsheet. how well does it rank? All right, I think I ranked the CX-90 at A tier. Does this rank above it? Well, let's find out. It's time to look at the CX-70 and consider it against its potential rivals. Now, it's hard to compare this to anything that is not a 3-row because it's the size of a 3-row crossover. So keep that in mind. Now, first of all, let's talk about availability. If we include the plug-in hybrid, there's only about 90 CX-70s in my area. So availability on these things is not very good right now. Now, maybe it's because the 26s are coming in. I'm not quite sure, but low volume availability. Now, guys, look at this. This preferred, premium preferred, or whatever this trim level is on the bottom end. Let me just double check. Like, yeah, look, low 40s. Guys, you can $2,000 off of MSRP. You can get a CX-70 in the low 40s. And for that price, my goodness, the value, the size, the luxury. All right. You might be saying, Kirk, it's not going to be the same as the Turbo Premium Plus, whatever you drove today. I know, but that car is not worth $60K. To some it is. Okay. It's not a terrible buy at $60K because it's a really good car, but you can get almost the same amount of luxury on an entry-level model. You get these cool big wheels too, nice interior. You can get these with tan interiors too on the base trims. And it's still power seats, you know, like still big screen here. That's standard. You're not going to have a 360 camera, so keep that in mind. Parking sensors might not be there either. But, you know, it's still, there's that analog tachometer, which I'm a big fan of. This is an insane buy for the low 40s. Really, really good buy. Now, you look at this one. This one even has the crossbars. Black cars don't sell that well in Florida, so I guarantee that's why this one's discounted. But so there's just 90. Now, that includes a plug-in hybrid. Now, the plug-in hybrid's only 9 available, and there are price drops on these. $6,000 price drop. 50,000, I think it's a good deal. It's a really good car. Honestly, it's a really, really good car as well. And it actually, the powertrain is actually, because it doesn't wrestle with the i-Stop system the whole time, because it's designed to have the engine turn on and off and to do it very seamlessly. It is better executed until you turn off i-Stop, all right, on the Inline 6. So anyways, yeah, just not cheap enough. You know, you never make up the fuel economy difference here because you're paying over $50,000 to get the plug-in hybrid. So what about the CX-90? Well, look at this. Over 4 times the amount of availability for the CX-90, and it's the exact same car. I know it doesn't look as good up front because they made the bumper not as good looking. It's just simple as that, but it's the same exact car. That would not, like, you can get these things for under $40,000. I know it's not going to be as well equipped probably as the entry level CX-70, but still, like, you can still get your feet wet in one of these things and have 3 rows of seats and fold down the 3rd row if you're not using it for more cargo capacity. All right. So if you're thinking about a CX-70, you should also think about a CX-90. It feels and drives exactly the same. You just don't have that 3rd row in the 70, and maybe that 3rd row holds its value better than a 2-row. So I'm going to go down to lowest price here. I saw $36K. Are you kidding me? That's a great deal. $36K. Are you kidding me? For an Inline 6. Gosh, what a great family vehicle for that sort of money. Now, I've also reviewed the Palisade recently. The Palisade's also good as a V6. It's not as fast. It's actually quite a bit slower, but it is a much quieter engine than the Inline 6 from the Mazda. But there's also the hybrid, which was fantastic too. Okay, in the hybrid, I was getting, I got 30 miles per gallon. But you can get these in front wheel drive. This thing it's not fun to drive. It's just really smooth, really luxurious, and it is a better family hauler than the CX-90 is. Okay, I know I'm reviewing the CX-70, but you have to consider both of them when you're shopping for one of those things. So there's a lot of availability for the Lexus RX in my area. Actually, it's because where I live, luxury brands are very successful here. Or there are a ton of RXs available, which is a big 2-row crossover, which is really nice too. All right, the interior of the Mazda is better. The Mazda is more fun to drive. The Lexus engine is quieter and it gets better fuel economy, assuming you're getting the hybrid. I don't recommend the turbo. What I'm trying to say is if you want your powertrain to not have electrification, the Lexus RX is a good choice. I just don't like the non-V6 character of this. Okay, the 2.4 turbo is not that great. All right, so what about, we need to look at hybrid, honestly. Hybrid RX 350h. Oh my gosh, this is disgusting. I haven't looked at RX inventory in a long time. You're going to be able to essentially put your price on the turbo models. Nobody wants them. Look at the availability. 680 of the RX 350 turbos, and there's only 17 available 350Hs. That is, and there's like what, one plug-in hybrid here. Well, the 450H, yeah. So that is crazy. Hardly any 500Hs either. You're not going to be able to get a good deal on a Lexus RX hybrid, and that's the only way I would buy one. Wow. So yeah, the Mazda, whether you get the plug-in hybrid or the inline six, it is a better buy right now in today's market, no doubt, and a better luxury car for the most part. Okay, than the Lexus RX. The build quality on the Mazda out here is out of this world. Like it's perfectly built. Since I would take it over Lexus RX, is that saying a whole lot? No, because the Lexus RX has kind of fallen from grace, in my opinion, of what it used to be because the V6 is gone in it. All right, so let's talk about where this vehicle is going to end up here on the spreadsheet of all the cars I've reviewed. All right, let's talk about the pros. It looks good. It looks better than the CX-90. It handles amazing. Its steering feel is so good. All right, the inline six is really, really fun engine to ring out. All right. The interior, just chef's kiss. All right. Lack of cargo space on the interior, though, is or sure, for the passengers in the front seat is not a good thing. But the cargo space in the back is great. All right. So I want to put in iStop is the biggest attraction of this vehicle. You just have to disable it by pressing that button, sometimes 2 times for it to register, so you can not be interrupted by the engine turning off or not being on when you need it to be on. Okay, so we're also going to put, all right, so while it's a beautiful interior, the buttons, the interacting with the car is great. I just want a little bit more cargo space for my stuff up front. All right, the engine can be loud, and the fact that the CX-90 exists doesn't bode well for the CX-70. Despite that, I still think it's amazing. I put it in A tier, and if you know, what's keeping it from S tier? Well, if you get one for like a CX-90 under 40K, like that's stupid. That's S tier buy right there. But what's keeping it back? Well, the engine's just a little too loud, and the iStop is still its Achilles heel. Again, you can disable it, but you have to do that every single time you get in the car, and it just takes away from the experience. All right, now you won't have to wrestle with iStop if you get the plug-in hybrid, because that thing, the engine behaves exactly how you expect it to all the time. It's fantastic, but it's also heavier. It doesn't handle as well, the plug-in hybrid, so things I mentioned. So it's always a give and a take, it feels like. CX-70 Turbo, I'm glad Mazda made this vehicle. It's fun to drive. It's spacious. It's cool looking, it's unique, and it has an inline six, something that most of the competition's gone to like turbo 4 cylinders. And here's Mazda's like, no, you not even V6. Give me an inline six. You know, it makes the vehicle handle well. It's a smooth operating engine. It's an efficient engine, getting 25 miles per gallon. I think that's also a pro. 25 mpg for a lack of a better term, a non-strong hybrid to mild hybrid is pretty impressive, but it does go down a little bit when you disable iStop, but that doesn't matter if you're doing mostly highway driving. All right, so let's go ahead and throw it in A category. Let's go ahead and find that CX-90. Let's put it right next to it. CX-90 plug-in hybrid. It's just as good. Again, just depends if you want a fuel economy focused with the plug-in hybrid, or do you want it to be more fun to drive with the inline six. All right, love them, love them, love them. Now, I have heard Mazda's had some teething issues with these vehicles with reliability. So that's something to consider. Look into these vehicles heavily when it comes to customer complaints. All right. I have never experienced anything in testing them, but I haven't owned them. All right. And that is something to consider, but that's always something to consider with every make and model. All right, but I'm going to end it there. It's fantastic. The small updates for 2026 just make the entry level model a better buy. And we'll finish with that. Let me pull it up for you guys. This is what differentiates the trim levels. Okay, for the low 40s, you still get the inline 6. Now it's been detuned, but put premium in it, and I guarantee it's going to perform a little bit better. You still get leather standard. You still get ventilated seat standard. You still get 21-inch wheel standard. It's an incredible buy for the entry-level trim. When you go up in trim level, you can tow more. Big whoop. And I don't care for automatic folding mirrors that much to spend $4,000 more. 12-inch screen, not worth it because I like the analog tack on the base trim. Now, look at the Premium Plus here. Napa leather trim. Okay, they're nice, but 360 camera is also on this, as well as the panoramic roof, which is nice under $50K. Those things would probably be worth upgrading for. All right. Then you get the more expensive and higher horsepower models that I just drove today. But I'm telling you, they're not even that fast. All right. And I don't think you're going to lose that much in acceleration. Maybe a half second would be my guess. Half second, because it doesn't launch hard. So a half second 0 to 60 benefit to get 60 more horsepower, but it costs so much more. Look, low 50s to upper 50s. Mine was trimmed out to about $60,000. And it's just like, in no world am I living in is it worth it when the new upgraded turbo preferred model is just such a good value, such a good buy. This is the turbo preferred is the way to go. If we go back to the build or the buying guide here, we look at this preferred and we look at lowest price. You can get them for the low 40s, but again, don't sleep on the CX-90, which you can get well under $40,000. It won't be quite as well equipped with the ventilated seats, I don't think. You'll still have heated seats in it though. And this is just crazy, crazy buy we're talking about here. 36, 37K for a CX-90, insane. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for more car reviews. I have to review this Jeep Wagoneer. And it's just sad with that vehicle sitting next to the CX-90. The build quality differences are, it's like one was built by children and the other one was built by elves. All right, the Mazda being the better built one, obviously, because that Jeep, like the gaps and the build quality in that and just the interior is just so crazy. And that thing stickers at like $72,000, that Jeep Wagoneer S. I'm not looking forward to review it, but I also haven't driven it yet. And maybe once I drive it, I'll be blown away. But man, anyways, CX-70, good car. Have a great day, guys, and peace.